Hi again, you guys. I am here to review the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons that there are in a specific atom, and then also give you some notes on a couple of definitions that you need to know about things related to the atom. So we're going to make a little chart in our notes. This might take you a little bit of time to set up, but I think it'll be worthwhile. So we're going to have a heading called atom, and then a heading for atomic number, for mass number, and the really important part, a heading for protons, neutrons, and even electrons. All right, so what we're going to do, go ahead and put some lines down like that. We're going to go through a few examples of these together. And basically what we're going to do is I'm going to give an atom out, and we're going to be able to figure out all the other information about it. So let me give you an example, okay? Let's say I were to give you the atom, let's look at our periodic table. Let's do P31. Now remember, we learned this notation the other day. P-31, okay? We learned that this is the name of the element, P. I would look on the periodic table for P, which is phosphorus. And this number afterwards, if you look at your notes, tells us the mass number, okay? So I know that the mass number of this, because it's right here, is 31. So be really careful, that's the mass number. Now you might be thinking, what's the atomic number? Just a reminder, the atomic number is given on the periodic table. It's in the upper left-hand corner. So we're going to find P, it's right over here, and its atomic number is given right there. It's 15. So the atomic number is 15. Now I have to figure out how many protons, neutrons, and electrons there are. Well, I know from our notes that atomic number tells me how many protons there are, right? Atomic number tells me protons. And if my atom is equal, protons also tells me electrons. We learned this the other day, and that's why it's so nice to have your notes to look back at if you need to answer these questions. So atomic number is 15. That's going to be equal to protons and electrons. So I am going to have 15 protons and 15 electrons. Now, as far as figuring out neutrons, here's what we learned. We learned that mass number equals protons plus neutrons. Now, there's two ways to figure this out. You can either set up a little equation like I did, or you can just subtract. Neutrons equals mass number minus protons. It's up to you. So, neutrons. All right, I'm going to do the simple one, which is mass number minus the number of protons. So mass number is 31 minus the number of protons, which is 15. So my answer for neutrons is 16. Let's do one or two more. Okay, so the next one I'm going to do, let's go ahead and do B9. B9. So we know that this number that comes after the dash is the mass number. So I'm going to fill that in there. I'm going to look at the periodic table for the atomic number. So B is right here. Its atomic number is 5. So its atomic number is 5. Now atomic number, we know from our notes before, equals protons and electrons. So I also am going to have 5 protons and 5 electrons. And to find neutrons, I'm going to remember from the other notes, and I've got this written down, that neutrons equals mass number minus protons. So mass number is 9 minus 5 gives me 4 for neutrons. All right, so that's a quick review of how to find atomic number, mass number, protons, neutrons, and electrons. Let's do two more definitions, okay? We talked about the fact that this number here isn't found on the periodic table, that 9 and that 31. And the reason it's not found there is it can change. I can have atoms that are of the same element that have different mass numbers, and those are called isotopes. You just need to know this definition. They are atoms of the same element with different numbers of neutrons. And because they have different numbers of neutrons, their mass number is going to be different. So example, I can have carbon 12 and carbon 14. They're both carbon. If we look at the periodic table, they're both carbon, so they both have 6 protons and 6 electrons, but they have different numbers of neutrons because their mass number is different. Those are isotopes. The other definition also starts with an I, are ions. And these are atoms that have gained or lost electrons. And so what happens when you have an ion is that protons and electrons are not equal, okay? And we'll learn about the 2 types of ions. They're called cations and anions when we start learning about naming in the next chapter. All right, thank you for listening.